Good evening, friends, and welcome to this meeting for the full moon in Pisces. Before we get started, I'll just announce that the new moon meditation coming up is going to be on Friday, March 28th at 6 o'clock. And you have other things on your screens. Every time we come together in group formation to orient ourselves to the higher way and to meet with the intention of providing world service, an energetic pulse is projected, which, if the spiritual tension is vitalized, reaches the hierarchy and serves to strengthen the interaction with our elder brothers, those who guide and guard. We might imagine that the realm of souls, the powerful kingdom of love with the Christ standing at the center, feels this reaching out from the souls imprisoned in form on earth. They too were once in physical form and have passed through the tests and trials we all must undergo while in incarnation. They understand our struggles and stand patiently watching while each person wrestles with their own glamours and illusions as they once did. Being out of incarnation enables the disembodied consciousness to see things clearly, to see the whole of the sequence of lives with a perspective we can't achieve while working through the density of the form. When we arrive annually at the period of influence of Pisces, the final sign of the zodiac, there is always a sense of completion, a feeling of finality that naturally regards the past, but simultaneously beckons toward the future. One cycle is completed while another is imminent. At the macrocosmic level, this is taking place for humanity as a whole, as we slowly move away from the zodiacal age of Pisces into the new era with its very different energies of Aquarius. These transitions are always messy and slow. There is no magic switch. For many, the old forms, methods of work, habits, and life tendencies struggle to remain in place, often for many decades. And while the newer energies are taking root, there is confusion and sometimes no small amount of chaos. We see all these effects working out in the world today. Pisces highlights how we are all swimming together in the great ocean of consciousness, sometimes merely being moved by the currents wherever they will, and other times moving purposefully toward a goal. Pisces is represented by two fishes tied together, swimming in opposite directions, or trying to. They represent the soul and the form bound together, working out which will be the more dominant, spirit or matter, the divine nature or the restrictive form. Clearly a dual sign, Pisces depicts the nature of one aspect in bondage to the other, and this relationship works both ways. In the early days of the soul's evolutionary journey, the soul is imprisoned in form, unable to exert its influence because the form nature is so unresponsive. Then, after time and evolution have done their work, the powerful form nature begins to weaken, signaling to the soul that the bonds of its captivity are being loosened. It then proceeds to seize control of the form, making it captive to the soul's purpose. Meanwhile, the form nature is slowly dying. We know from our studies that unity is found on the planes of the inner life, that all souls are part of the one soul, and it is only through the form nature that separation appears, creating the illusion of reality. The soul on its own plane is group conscious and knows no kind of separateness. It perceives all forms as merely a collection of energies that are seeking release and redemption through an advancing consciousness. The soul seeks to express itself and gain fullness of experience through contact with the physical plane. It seeks to condition its vehicles of form with the reality of its essential unity. It seeks full control of the personality, the outer life, and the trends of thought. With these thoughts in mind, let us take a moment to reflect on our essential oneness and basic unity with the soul. The mantra of unification is a potent word of power, which, when used with focused intent, helps bring the soul and personality into alignment and interplay. The souls of all are one, and I am one with them. I seek to love, not hate. I seek to serve and not exact due service. I seek to heal, not hurt. Let pain bring due reward of light and love. Let the soul control the outer form and life and all events, and bring to light the love that underlies the happenings of the time. Let vision come and insight. Let the future stand revealed. Let inner union demonstrate and outer cleavages be gone. Let love prevail. Let all people love. Oh. All forms die, whether it be a human being, an animal, a plant, an insect, a building, or an organization. Ultimate destruction is built into any form, and this is a natural law. Rather than being a dire and dreaded phase of the life cycle, death, through the work of the first ray destroyer aspect, is an act of liberation, allowing the indwelling life to be released to a wider field of service, eventually to return to another vehicle more suited to the demands of evolution. There is also the necessary death of wrong and separative ideas, which impede the will of the soul, the death of desire for the materiality which negates the reality of the inner life, and the death of certain thought habits and tendencies which are not permitted entry into the ashram. These more abstract types of death are brought about by the effort of the personality that recognizes and is in touch with the soul. Deliberate destruction is aided by the beneficent energies of the first ray in its destroyer aspect, and with each falling away of obstacles to the soul's expression, the aspirant is propelled into a wider field of service on earth. Fear is a crippling emotion, and sadly, especially in the West, the fear of death dominates many people's lives as age advances and death draws nearer. For many, the idea of death is a terrifying prospect. Some feel that it will be the total annihilation of themselves. Some fear the purgatory they have been taught to believe in. Some even believe in eternal damnation. These fears place a terrible burden on loved ones, and the denial of death disrupts families and has an insidious way of spreading. The Western medical profession has been taught that death is the enemy and must be forestalled at all costs. So drastic measures are taken to prolong a body that no longer serves and is no longer capable of functioning on its own. But attitudes and practices around death are slowly changing. In the Buddhist tradition, death is considered to be a natural part of life while consciousness continues after death. Reincarnation is then a natural occurrence, and death is considered to be liberation into a wider world. In the ancient Egyptian religion, the heart was the key to the eternal afterlife in which the spirit continued. The teaching of the ageless wisdom are consistent with these views, which are becoming generally more widely accepted. Even the scientific community is beginning to dip its collective toe into the field of the continuity of consciousness. As reports of non-local consciousness, such as near-death experiences or remote viewing, continue to be reported, many scientists are now considering that consciousness is not dependent on brain functioning. Through the esoteric rulership of Pluto, Pisces represents the principle and process of death, but also birth, these two being opposite aspects of the same reality for the two fish in captivity to one another, the soul and form. Pisces stands for imprisonment, bondage, and eventually detachment and release. When the soul incarnates into form, this is a temporary death for the soul. It becomes imprisoned in a body with no way to express itself through the infant, which is completely dependent on others for all its needs for many years. Births are always celebrated, but on the plane of soul, the entry or birth into physical form is a drastic sacrifice and a type of death for the soul. But keeping in mind that the nature of the soul is sacrifice, it is fulfilling its purpose to become imprisoned again and again until the final release. DK comments that as time goes by, people will more widely accept the death process as a part of the life cycle, and that the fear of death will diminish and disappear. This can be seen slowly happening now through service efforts such as the hospice movement and the recent growth of the death doula movement. As early as 1948, a British doctor named Dame Cecily Saunders began working with terminally ill patients and stressed palliative care rather than treatments to cure. Hospice work creates a compassionate and comfortable environment for the dying and is widely available through most hospitals. In 1969, Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross published her groundbreaking book on death and dying, which contains over 500 interviews with dying persons and has helped change attitudes about death and the dying process. NDEs, or near-death experiences, are now recognized as valid as those coming back to life speak of their experience. People are starting to gather together to discuss any and all aspects of death in so-called death cafes. In these gatherings, all opinions are welcomed, and people can talk about any aspect of death they choose. This exchange of views can only be a healthy sign that attitudes are changing. In a treatise on white magic, we read, "Is it impossible to vision the time when the hours spent on the deathbed may be but a glorious prelude to a conscious exit? When the fact that the man is to discard the handicap of the physical sheath may be for him and those around him the long waited for and joyous consummation? Can you not visualize the time when instead of tears and fear and the refusal to recognize the inevitable, the dying person and his friends would mutually agree on the hour and that nothing but happiness would characterize the passing? That in the minds of those left behind, the thought of sorrow will not enter, and deathbeds will be regarded as happier occasions than births and marriages. I tell you that before so long, this very will be deeply so." Continuity of consciousness is one of the goals of the training for the New Age. Through occult meditation practice, students learn to hold the mind steady in the light and to keep a focus as high as possible in the head. Through the long process of building the Antakarana, the bridge between the higher and lower aspects of the mind is constructed by an effort of the personality in cooperation with the soul. We are counseled to keep our consciousness alert and active during the aging process so that death can be as conscious as possible. In preparation for a smooth exit from the body, we are instructed to practice an exercise every night when going to sleep, which acts as a rehearsal for the death process. The Tibetan encourages us to attempt to keep our consciousness intact while going to sleep, to relax and withdraw the consciousness steadily upward into the head rather than allowing a drifting off, and to be aware of everything that is happening as much as possible. Pluto governs the process of transformation through death, initiation, and revelation. Pluto entered Capricorn in 2008, helping to stimulate the trend toward materialism, Capricorn being the most concrete of all the signs. We might remember that the end of 2008 saw the global financial crisis and the slow movement toward a more marked materialism, the acquisition of material things, and the amassing of huge amounts of money by a few individuals, all indicative of the deeply material nature of Capricorn. Now, Pisces' esoteric ruler Pluto has moved into Aquarius and will be there until the end of 2043, quite some time ahead. We can imagine that in this period, the power of the incoming seventh ray, because of its rulership of Aquarius, will be augmented and will help stimulate the values of brotherhood, universal spirituality, and a recognition that death is simply a natural process leading to further freedom for the soul and freedom for the consciousness which never dies. Transformation away from material values toward the spiritual is inevitable, and in this we can have great hope. We are told that in this year of the hierarchical centennial conclave, 2025, the Christ will make his decision when to return to earth in physical form. This will also coincide with the beginning of the externalization of the hierarchy, a most painful and difficult process for those enlightened beings. While we may be assured that the Christ will appear as promised, the book, The Reappearance of the Christ, mentions 3 criteria that will assure his return: a greater measure of established peace, a manifestation of the principle of sharing in the world economy, and a so-called cleaning house of politics and the churches. Is humanity doing enough to meet these goals? Where can we see progress in right human relations and peace building? Coinciding with the hierarchical centennial conclave in 2025 and the beginning of the sojourn of Pluto in Aquarius is the end of what has been called the stage of the forerunner. This has been an 85-year period since 1940 in which the new group of world servers emerged and began its work of helping to prepare the minds and hearts of people everywhere for the emergence of the Aquarian avatar and the incoming Aquarian age. Now, this group has a different responsibility: to work as Aquarius indicates, that is, using the methods of the hierarchy while still toiling in Pisces, as stated in Rule 12 for disciples and initiates. As we move forward into a promised future of sharing and brotherhood, the gifts and accomplishments of the Piscean era must be as the foundation for the new methods and spiritual undertakings in Aquarius. The Christ ushered in the age of Pisces, and now the Aquarian Christ will inaugurate the new through the sacrificial act of functioning on the physical plane. The triumph of Pisces through the victory over death releases the soul into its true role as the world savior, which, having left the Father's home eons past, turns back to save the little ones and bring about transformation, redemption of matter, and resurrection. Let us prepare for our group meditation, in which we will use the keynote of the soul for Pisces. I leave the Father's home, and turning back, I save. Master Moria says, be ready for the new. Keynote of the full moon approach to the hierarchy. He who faces the light and stands within its radiance is blinded to the issues of the world of men. He passes on the lighted way to the great center of absorption. But he who feels the urge to pass that way, yet loves his brother on the darkened path, revolves upon the pedestal of light and turns the other way. He faces towards the dark, and then the 7 points of light within himself transmit the outward streaming light, and lo, the face of those upon the darkened way receives that light. For them, the way is not so dark. Behind the warriors, twixt the light and dark, blazes the light of hierarchy. Letting in the light. Group fusion. We affirm the fact of group fusion and integration within the heart center of the group of world servers, mediating between hierarchy and humanity. I am one with my group brothers, and all that I have is theirs. May the love which is in my soul pour forth to them. May the strength which is in me lift and aid them. May the thoughts which my soul creates reach and encourage them. Alignment. We project a line of lighted energy towards the spiritual hierarchy of the planet, the planetary heart, the great ashram of Sanat Kumara, and towards the Christ at the heart of hierarchy. Extend the line of light towards Shambhala, the center where the will of God is known. Higher interlude. Hold the contemplative mind open to the extraplanetary energies streaming into Shambhala and radiated through hierarchy. Using the creative imagination, endeavor to see the three planetary centers, Shambhala, hierarchy, and humanity, gradually coming into alignment and interplay. And meditation. Reflect on the seed thought for Pisces. I leave the Father's home, and turning back, I save. Precipitation. Using the creative imagination, visualize the energies of light, love, and the will to good pouring throughout the planet and becoming anchored on Earth in prepared physical plane centers through which the plan can manifest. Use the sixfold progression of divine love as the sequence of energy precipitation. Shambhala, a hierarchy, the Christ, the group of servers, men and women of goodwill everywhere in the world, and physical centers of distribution. The lower interlude. Refocus the consciousness as a group within the periphery of the great ashram. Sound the affirmation. In the center of all love I stand. From that center, I, the soul, will outward move. From that center, I, the one who serves, will work. May the love of the divine self be shed abroad in my heart, through my group, and throughout the world. Visualize the downpouring spiritual inflow released from Shambhala through the hierarchy and streaming into humanity through the prepared channel. Consider how these inpouring energies are establishing the pathway of light for the coming world teacher, the Christ. Distribution. As the great invocation is sounded, visualize the outpouring of light and love and power from the spiritual hierarchy through the 5 planetary inlets: London, Darjeeling, New York, Geneva, Tokyo, irradiating the consciousness of the whole human race. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Thank you, everyone. The exact time of the full moon is at 2:55 a.m. Friday. Almost got through.
I know, it's so. I've had that happen 2 or 3 times. It's scary. Actually.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
But it's hard to stop me.
It is.
And it's not.
No, it's just you get moved. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. So your life is good. Skated with husband. He's married to you. His wife, thank you. That's big. Thank you. From his connection. Yeah, that's a his connection. So nice to meet you. I've heard so much about you. I what people say.